the Minister of Finance, Enoch Godongwana, the Commissioner of the South African Revenue Service, Edward Kieswetter, the Director General of National Treasury, Duncan Petersen, colleagues from Standard Bank, colleagues from Media24, good morning, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to Media24. Minister, there's winds blowing. I don't know if it's winds of change. For the first time in 30 years, we had a very interesting budget period. And I can tell you, Minister, that we have been waiting 3 weeks for this event to take place. But we are very glad that you are finally here. I want to tell you something. I think, personally, that the postponement of the budget speech was one of the best things that could have happened to our democracy. And why do I say that? Because never in my career have I heard South Africans debate the budget as fiercely as they have over the past 3 weeks. Even in my own family WhatsApp group, there was a fierce debate about spending more on SARS versus cutting expenditure versus austerity measures. People use words they've never used before. As the editor-in-chief of News24, South Africa's largest news publication, I can tell you that South Africans, Minister, are today much smarter and more informed about the workings of the budget and the fiscal framework than 3 weeks ago. I'm not sure who to thank for that, but I think we should applaud the fierce and democratic debate that preceded yesterday's budget speech in the GNU and in the public. In the spirit of spending reviews, my promise to you, Minister, is that we will continue to expose wasteful, fruitless and corrupt expenditure by rogue public servants, tenderpreneurs and predatory private companies on News24 as our contribution to balance your books. With that, please welcome to the stage the Minister of Finance, Enoch Godongwana.
What do you want me to say?
Maybe just here for your initial address.
So you make your opening remarks.
How long?
However long you want, and then we sit down and talk.
I was told that I'll be questioned by Carol. Oh, Commissioner, DG, happy birthday. Because we're in the old mutual competition of students. As we're leaving the office, it's a part of the contestants in the bus, mom, a car. Fellow South Africans, I agree with Alton. By the way, I was saying the positive thing about the postponement was massive debate about South Africans, which placed an interesting thing into the public discourse. What we normally fight for as Treasury behind the scenes in government and fight about the trade-offs. It's all very much, which everybody likes. We'll spend so much, but how are we going to fund it? How are we going to fund it? That's the tricky place where Treasury officials globally face. It's not only a South African phenomenon. We faced that challenge, and people said another fierce debate was distortion of the facts that says it's either SRD or VAT. I didn't say that. What I've been saying for the purpose of this audience, we've done a number of policy choices which sometimes are becoming controversial. No, 2023, our bailout session and healthy, if you have no revenue source, where to cut, you go for the big votes where you're likely to get money. What's arts and culture? We are not going to find it. Women department, even if they get 20 million, they get excited. So you go for the big votes, and in the final analysis, you erode social services. When you complain about the hospital and anything else, corruption and efficiency issues. But my argument is that we've got to fund them first properly. Then take the necessary step of dealing with corruption with your help and efficiency issues with your help. Let me just give you an interesting example. Towards the end of last year, about community development workers were going to lose jobs. There's 67,000. They were taking about 55 years and older. Now, both of us know that it's either they are in an old age grant and WDP, that's possibility. So we started scrutinizing and say, why are these people not in an old age grant? Can you give us their age profile? 2 of them were between 100 and 123 years old. Talking about the efficiency issues. We all know here and say to our colleagues, no. Your community development workers out. Those people must go and go into the old age system. So part of what we're saying, we've got to fund these services properly. For instance, the Defence Force underfunding came into the spotlight during the M23 debate. Came into the spotlight that our Defence Force has always been underfunded, and therefore we needed to make sure that the Defence Force is properly funded. The police from 2022-23, we've added 25,000 new recruits. We've put money into the prosecution authority and law enforcement agencies to deal with everybody to call up a state capture and so on. The ball is in their court, not with us.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you, Minister, for being here. And and he was just looking at his watch. Congratulations on your budget. I think under the circumstances, it's a good budget. The aspects of the budget, how difficult has it been, and how difficult do you think it will continue to be?
Because political parties develop manifestos. They develop manifestos. When they develop those manifestos, people tend to stick to the manifesto irrespective of the changing circumstances. For instance, one of the ANC manifestos says we should reduce the cost of living and therefore not only reducing the current VAT rate. So those will say, in fact, what I've done runs against the manifesto. So it's some of those challenges one is going to be facing.
Right.
The same part with the DA. The DA says we campaign against increasing taxes.
Exactly. One thing I can tell you, ladies and gentlemen, is that Minister Godongwana has got political courage. I've seldom seen a finance minister who's as willing to be unpopular as you are. But
it comes with age.
Yes, I think it does help that you're not actually, you realize that you're not going to go on forever. And
I'm not running to be elected in 2027
exactly.
at
Right,
my age.
it does help. But, I mean, do we not have a problem with the ANC in that they keep on adding items to the expenditure? They love to spend, and they've been able to do so with very little accountability for a long time. No one has stopped them and said, stop, we can't do this spending. Don't you just have a party that just loves to spend?
Look, I don't know of any political party that does not want to spend, particularly closer to an election. Particularly closer to an election. Do you know the story when people were saying, Ronald Reagan said, read my lips, I'm not going to increase taxes. And when you go to Dubai, increase taxes. So
Yeah.
when it comes to an election, it's a challenge which political parties across the board would like to be popular and do things, and in the process have a serious impact on the budget processes. And ANC is no exception. I think we also have got that ambition.
Right. You know, you were a champion of the GNU. You worked with good government of national unity to make alliances with the right partners. But now you've been working with the DA for however long, nearly close to a year now, and they've just rejected the budget. Tell us about that.
Let me just say, I mean, rejecting budget on its own is not a problem. Rejecting the budget on its own is not a problem. What is a problem is how to. Let me say, first and foremost, they've compromised Treasury by saying, oh, this is an ANC budget. An independent institution such as Treasury, you make it an ANC channel. In that fact, that's the first point they've done, is to compromise the Treasury Department. The second thing they've done is, having done that, is to politicize it to the extent of campaigning where we are in the GNU. The third thing they have done, at GNU, we go into once you're a cabinet member, you go into the cabinet as a minister of state than a delegate of a party. When you go into cabinet, you are a minister of state and you are not a representative of a party. What they've done, which is bad for the GNU, is to constitute themselves as an opposition inside the GNU and as representative of a party than ministers of the state. That breaches all the protocols of a cabinet. So if they came out, and even as individuals, and say, no, this Minister of Finance is a crazy guy, and leave, because once you bring the ANC now is trying to defend itself, and we're not going to get a DA budget. So as Treasurer and myself, Minister of Finance, and the team, we get caught between these contesting political parties, instead of saying it's a crazy budget, because even the ANC people were opposed to it. And why do you make it an ANC project? Then you are bringing the ANC into the fray, and we become sandwiched. You know?
Right. How do we solve this? Can we solve it? How do we solve it? It's uncharted territory. We've never been down this road before. How do we solve this problem?
Here's the difficulty. The DA is set when I met them, because, by the way, I met the DA on the 7th.
That's right, yes, 7th of February.
7th of February, even before I could meet the ANC, I was supposed to meet the ANC on the 10th, they cancelled the meeting, as you know. I met them on the 17th. So, here's the problem. The DA says, we understand what you're talking about. Our problem, we've suffered a number of losses in this ANC. Is the BELA, is the NHI, is the Expropriation Act. In order for us to regain some of the losses, we're going to fight battles with the budget. And as a result, some of these issues like Expropriation Act and other things are part of the issues they are putting on the table for the budget, which are beyond the Treasury officials to look at. You know, it's difficult for the Treasury officials to debate an Expropriation Act if they want to accommodate political parties in what they say.
So in other words, we have a political problem and not a budget problem.
Precisely.
Yeah. So I think then it's up to the political parties to solve this problem.
Yes.
right. Okay, so I hope...
If they can, I don't know.
If they can, yes, yes. We hope they can.
Because what is happening now, they're getting more and more polarized.
That's right. That's right. No politician likes to lose an argument.
To interact with the number. Even if we're to do what they say, we must do a number of taxes. But for you to do that, you need to know how is this thing going to unfold. What we have said is that isn't the time first we buy these things in chunks, upgrade all our facilities in such a manner that they can be, in according to their language, NHI compliant. If we're to focus on that everybody can feel comfortable just by doing that.
Right. It's become quite a political battle, and again, stemming from politics, really. Okay, the minister has to leave very shortly. He's going to do battle in the caucus. And just one last question, and those people who are listening. You want to consolidate debt. That's one of the big goals of this budget. That means you want to stop debt from rising any further. The government, Treasury has set, I think, 13 times. I think we've had 13 targets since 2016 to consolidate debt, to reach the high point of debt. And yes, we're still going, and we're now on 75% of GDP. Are we going to slay this beast?
If you look at the fiscal framework we've tabled, is in line with our predictions that 25-26 will be the debt to GDP. Although we're picking up at a higher percentage than we have anticipated. After that, it declines. In that sense, if you look at the fiscal method, whether, again, in terms of the primary balance, we're fine. So that on that side of things, I think we're good. But the problem is the following, which is my point. The size of the debt is, in my view, not a determining factor. If the economy is growing, there's no problem. For instance, if you look at some of the developed economies, they've got more than 100% debt to GDP. Nobody worries, because the capacity of the economy to service that debt is there. Our problem is a growth problem. Why we're beginning to say, let's focus on that growth problem. Structural reforms is a key component of that. Infrastructure is a key component of that. If you look at the infrastructure as the economic development side of things, is one of the fastest growing items in the budget of table at 8.1%. So we've got to attend to the growth issue as well, not only to manage that.
Right. Well, Minister, thank you. Thank you for your time. Thank you for sharing. Look, you know, Commissioner, you've just pulled off the most incredible feat. You got an extra 4 billion out of the budget from a hot mic issue. Well done.
Million was created by the hot mic. If it ever has the ability to create money, I want a hot mic too. Our estimates would have been lower because the wage bill didn't grow at 8.4, it grew at 4.6. The consumption of fuel did not grow as we predicted to produce 102 billion rand against the 92 in the prior year. Consumption actually contracted for various reasons. by 6%, so we use less fuel, and therefore fuel levy is down. Imports were projected to grow at 6% year on year. Now we know that imports is contracting at 1.3, and that has and if you add up all those billions, you have a hole. And the variables improved, you would not have a hole, and the number would be higher than the estimate. If the variable decreases, if those variables decrease, you have to find a way to fill the hole. And that was our argument, and we'll continue to make this argument because until you replace it, Goolam, with a smarter argument.
Right. Goolam, I really want to bring you into the conversation. I just want to ask, okay, so in fact, what happened yesterday is that the minister added another 7 billion to your budget for over the next 3 years. How are you going to use that money? You've spoken a bit about how these are recognized arrears. These are people who you have a lot of people who haven't actually paid up, who you think should be paying up. Should South African taxpayers be or errant taxpayers be worried to make those collections?
So let me just rectify that. Okay. The original budget 3 weeks ago had already penciled in 3.5 billion rand over the MTEF. Right, yes. 500, 1.5 and 1.5. It was useful for us because we went back and we argued our case. And the position as we stand now is that 3.5 billion remains in the base, and over the MTEF, another 4 billion is added. So that's the 4 billion you spoke that we got more. And so 2 billion of that for this year, we will use. So we have normal business. And by the way, maybe it's useful to clarify that when we talk about 800 billion that's unrecovered, we talk about 45% of that. 40 to 45% is stock, inventory, that has a contingent liability on our balance sheet, the state's balance sheet. You would call it non-performing loans or debt due to Standard Bank. In our case, it's outstanding returns to which there's a value, and secondly, outstanding debt that is not disputed, that is unrecovered, and debt that is disputed that has to be settled. So that is the basket of billions that we talk about that already belongs to the state. So what we'll do this year, we'll redouble our efforts to, in a very focused way, drive a debt recovery program and a recovery of, and we believe that whatever the economy may do, if we can recover that debt, it will add to the revenue, whatever the economy may do. And then 500